sir. And there we go. We can see it, which means LOX chill down is underway. So that means that RP1, Rocket Propel 1 kerosene load is complete on the upper stage, and now they are chilling down all of the lines to anticipate the super cooled liquid oxygen that will be loading into it next. This process takes about 4 minutes, and as a result, you'll see it getting super frosty and venty, which is why we call it the best vent, even though it's technically a chill down, and it's kind of just the residual of things getting cold in Florida's hot environment. While we're talking about the trajectory, this one is interesting in that we see it looks like a deorbit that ends up in the Pacific Ocean near Mexico. Elliot was wondering when and where can we see the deorbit burn? Because I know some missions, not this one, Europe gets quite the show from stage 2 passivating.
Yeah, definitely not this one. The deorbit burn will probably be rather shortly after the deployment, right? And by that, I guess I should probably say it might be like an hour after. That's shortly enough. That's the reentry, by the way. So the reentry happens there, south of Mexico in the Pacific Ocean, but the deorbit burn will happen probably over the Indian Ocean, because it's sort of on the other side. You lower a little bit the orbit, and then after you go all the way around, then you re-enter over the Pacific. It's sort of like, I guess, like Starship launching out of Boca Chica, right, from South Texas, and then it goes all the way around, and it actually re-enters over the Indian Ocean. So the same thing sort of happens here, where the deorbit burn is on the other side of the globe, and then it re-enters over there. So one thing is the deorbit burn. Probably not a lot of people will see that. It might actually be in complete daylight around there, so it will probably be very, very hard to see it. And then the actual reentry will be sort of in the Pacific Ocean, as we saw there. So probably not a lot of people will see that either, unless you are very close to the coast down there in Central America. So that's my complete guess. But yeah, when probably around an hour, maybe less after deployment, but it's probably going to be again over Central Indian Ocean, eastern coast of Africa, or things like that, and it's probably going to be full daylight in that area. So probably not a chance to see it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame with that. It's got to be the right orbit, the right time, the right conditions to get the crazy spiral pinwheel look over Europe or wherever you're viewing from tonight. Let's see. Here was one that I was trying to ask earlier. Slick40 was asking, SpaceX has been yeeting Falcon 9 rockets from Slick40 for a while now. Max, do they plan to refit it for Starship?
Not Slick40, no. That will remain a Falcon 9 launch pad for the foreseeable future, as it is currently the busiest launch complex in the world, and not to mention the busiest in SpaceX's arsenal in terms of being able to launch Falcon between the 3 pads they have here, or not here, I guess here in the U.S. technically, but they have 2 here in Florida and 1 at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on the West Coast. So Slick40 will stay with Falcon 9. The launch complex that will be split between the two for a period of time is going to be LC-39A, because obviously you have the big black fixed service structure there that has been supporting Falcon 9 crew launches for about 5 years now, and has been there since the very early days of the space shuttle program in the early 1980s or late 70s when that pad was constructed. And obviously you have that gargantuan Starship launch tower right next to it. So that is the only launch complex currently set to be splitting the duties between both rockets. And then if you want to go farther south towards Slick 37, that is going to be a bespoke pad for Starship with multiple launch complexes and catch complexes as well. So at the moment, I guess TLDR, coming back to Slick 40, that will stay for Falcon 9 for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it very much seems like if they want to do more Starship, then they have other options. Of course, we know 37, we know 39. Potentially, they had looked into something over at 49. So that's always an option in the future. And we'll see what they end up doing. But for right now, again, obviously, we're waiting for that first Florida Starship launch. Hopefully soon, TM. And we'll make sure we get in the air soon as well to continue tracking the progress on Starship at the Cape. So make sure you stay tuned to all of the NSF socials as well, because once we do finally get to do that and the weather cooperates for us, I'm sure you'll see some photos dripping out onto all of the social channels. All right. About 15 minutes to go. Again, that 20-minute event has stopped, so liquid oxygen load underway on stage 2, RP1 and LOX continuing on stage 1 at this point. May see if you need to go into your records for this one, Alex, but Angry American was asking, do we know what the fairing flight record is?
Oh yeah, we actually do know about that one. So the fairing halves have actually flown more often than the boosters. The one that currently holds the record is serial number 185, and it has launched 33 times. So right now the booster record is B1067 with 30 times already, but the fairing that holds the record for most flights actually has flown even more times at 33. And just like B1067 you might remember from a few flights ago, it carried a crown as, as sort of, it's sort of like the king or queen, whatever you want to use, right, of the fleet. So it carries this crown and everything on top of its number. Each of the boosters have their own sort of little numbers on their sort of structure and everything painted on it. And so they also painted that crown. The fairing half that I just mentioned, serial number 185, also has that crown as well on top of its number. In the case of the fairings, those numbers are located sort of at the bottom of the fairing halves. So it's like 185, and then on top there's like a little crown painted on it. So it's really cool that, it's not just the boosters, but it's also the fairing halves. For this mission, we know that at least one of them has flown for 15 times, and we think it is serial number 191. So another one of those that, it has flown many times, just like the booster. This booster has flown already 22 times. It's going to fly for a 23rd on this flight. So definitely lots and lots of reuses that they get from this hardware. I mean, the only thing that gets expended at the end of the day, is just that second stage there that you see under the fairings. So it's something that they just can pump out really quickly and keep launching pretty much 3 or 4 times a week.
It's unbelievable at the rate they're able to do that. Yeah. And to be able to keep track of the fairings, of course, they all have the little crowns on it, as you mentioned. I absolutely love that touch on them. Now, Max, we had a poll running, and we had over 1,200 people voting in the poll for what shot they want to see you attempt tonight. And somehow, 1,200 of you managed to create a 50-50 split. Normally, YouTube will be like 50 to 49% to show that one edged out just a bit over the other. Nope. Dead on 50-50 exact. So, Max, do we have an idea of what the plan is?
I think I might attempt a streak tonight. I think it might look pretty cool with the clouds that we have in the area, and the fact that it's going to a geostationary orbit. From our perspective, means it's going straight east, but also the actual arch is going to be pretty narrow. So I can get it fitted in between a full frame 24 millimeter size image. So I think I might try that tonight. Haven't gotten a streak in a while. Glass is clean. And hopefully, and honestly, it's not too humid either, so there shouldn't be any dew spots or moisture spots anywhere on the lens. So we'll try. Hopefully, not famous last words. But I think I will be attempting a streak shot tonight, and then get it edited and shown on stream while we can. Hopefully, pretty quickly, because streaks can take a bit to edit, especially if you have any dirt or loud pixels anywhere in your image.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it in. During the commentary break, we were talking about one of my favorite shots I took that had a bad lens that wasn't fully clean. But anyway,
I wasn't trying to rub it in. I was just trying to. I was just. I was keeping it about my glass. But thank you, Sawyer.
Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, there are definitely people that take cleaner shots than I do of streak shots, and they're all available as prints on shop.nasaspaceflight.com. I mean, my favorite still is Max's right there. We were talking about this one as well during the break. The one over the communications antenna there. I absolutely love that shot. And
It is. Yeah, it's probably one of my personal favorites as well.
it's so good. And you can even see where the vapor cone was in it. And then, of course, we have all of the other amazing shots in there of Falcon and Atlas and Starship, of course. And for talking for the Cape, you see Falcon Heavy. There's booster landing shots. There's a Falcon Nebula shot. We've got a couple different flag shot options. There's one that has the fairing, and there's also a flag shot version that has a capsule. One shot by Max, one shot by me. So you could check those all out at shop.nasaspaceflight.com and get them as either a metal print or a poster for your wall. It'd be cool to see them in like college dorms now, because if these were a thing when I was in college, I would absolutely have them all over my dorm. Just saying. We are now 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Max, just let me know when I need to let you go, because I know you got to set all the settings for that shot as well.
I do still have to plant that camera down because I didn't really have a chance to get it aimed up between all the delays and not knowing what to do at that point. And also, I was waiting for the poll, so now might be a good time now at just T-minus 9 minutes. So I think I might do that now, and I will see y'all hopefully on the other side, and hopefully a good flight. Come on, Falcon 9.
Let's go, Falcon 9. Do the thing. And Max, will see you and talk to you afterwards. So at this point, as you mentioned, now under 9 minutes to go. Fingers crossed that the weather holds out. Alex, any update on the weather?
Yeah, weather was still a watch item as of a few minutes ago. Let's see if everything goes good with the weather. Like, it clears, they see there's a chance and things like that. Still counting down, 8 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Right now, they should be approaching the point where they start chilling down the engines. On Falcon 9, they load a little bit of that liquid oxygen through the pumps to make sure that they are conditioned for flight and make sure that there's no cavities or anything like that. They get fully filled. Speaking of fully filled, there will also be wrapping up load of the kerosene tank on the first stage as well. So that'll be another one of those things that they will be ticking off as we proceed here in the countdown. But yeah, so far still counting down. Still going for this. Let's see what they do. Maybe we'll get to the same sort of outcome that we were the other day, where they go to 1 minute and then, they call it a day. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yep. Earlier, we were talking about Kiko, who's one of the people that works on launches at SpaceX, with a tweet saying SpaceX yells at clouds, as they were hoping for the clouds to clear. So that was one of the things they were watching as part of the weather throughout the day. It has not been a lightning issue, at least this time, or lightning watches or warning, as we've seen the last couple of attempts. We have seen steady state wind warnings throughout the area, but we'll see if they're able to get Falcon 9 finally off the ground tonight. As you just pointed out, Alex, that engine chill now underway. This is getting exciting finally. And again, for those people just joining in as we reach the end here, I know time for this one again. Alex, can you give a brief summary of what the payload actually is tonight?
Yeah, the Nusantara Lima is a high throughput satellite for communications for Indonesia for the company called Pacific Satelit Nusantara. And it's going to be providing over 160 gigabit per second connectivity. And so it's going to be one of these, again, 6 metric ton, really huge satellites that are going to be in geostationary orbit. Falcon 9 will be launching this into a geostationary transfer orbit. And then the satellite itself will be using its own electric thrusters to be able to position itself into that final geosynchronous orbit. Now, there's another thing as well. This satellite was originally built for another whole different purpose and a different company and a different country and everything. And it was originally going to be what was called a GSAT satellite. However, the company pulled out of that agreement. And so Boeing, the manufacturer of the satellite, decided to just sell it to another company. And so PSN, Pacific Satellite Nusantara, just took this satellite and said, hey, you know what? Let's launch it. I want to use it. I'm going to buy it for you and then, modify it a little bit here and there. And I'll use it for my own sort of business, I guess. So yeah, this was originally built for a whole different thing, and then they were using it, I guess, for this purpose of providing connectivity to Indonesia. So again, one of those things that we see often in spaceflight, that sometimes one thing that you were thinking was going to be used for one duty, one sort of thing, it ended up being used for a whole different one. So
Yep.
yeah, it's one of
And
those
this,
things, right?
and this joining a fleet of other satellites for Indonesia that have been launched,
Yep.
also helping after one of theirs was lost earlier. I mean, this was a little while back, launching on Long March 3B that failed. So
Yep.
hopefully completing more of their network.
And they are not unfamiliar with Falcon 9 because they have already launched at least 2 other times satellites from this company on Falcon 9, including the PSN-6 satellite, also known as Nusantara Satu, and they also launched recently, just a couple of years ago, the Satria satellite as well. All 3 of them also being communication satellites. So definitely not not the first rodeo, if you will, with Falcon 9.
That is true, but Falcon 9's rodeo continues right now with strong back retract. You see the clamps going away from underneath the fairing halves up at the top there, and then the strong back leaning 1.8 degrees away from the rocket. That will throw all the way back at liftoff, but for now it's enough to just get out of the way for that initial launch blast that it will experience hopefully 3 minutes and 33 seconds from now. And again, at this point, the concern still remains the weather as the watch item for tonight. For the launch itself, as for downrange, for those wondering, this is an easterly launch because it is going to geostationary transfer orbit. So that means a shortfall of gravitas is located downrange, ready to hopefully catch the booster, or land the booster on it, I should say. And this is B1078 that you see on your screen on its 23rd or 23 or 4. How does the dashes work? This is 23rd flight, right?
Yeah, this is a 23rd flight. The number goes up when it lands.
Yeah. And for those wondering about the fairing halves, Doug is downrange to set to pick those up. As Alex was mentioning earlier, the only part of this vehicle that is thrown away is the second stage. And at this point, stage 1 LOX load is complete. So we are getting close to finishing wrapping up propellant load on the vehicle. Within the next 45 seconds or so, we should hopefully get notification that all of the tanks are filled, and then they will begin the gas closeout line. And of course, Alex, if you have any updates, please interrupt me at any point.
Yep, if something critical is said, I'll yell it just in case. But yeah, still counting down, T-minus 2 minutes. Should be wrapping up liquid oxygen load on the second stage. And that has just happened.
There we go. So LOX load done. We are just about at a fully fueled Falcon 9 here as we get ready for what will be the gas closeout. And there you see it on your screen right now, purging the lines of any remaining propellants or anything else in those lines ahead of launch that could either damage the strongback or catch fire as it launches. Lots of different things that they watch out for there. 90 seconds to go. At this point, the events that we should see coming up will be the vehicle entering startup, at which point the onboard computers will then take control of the countdown. That means all the onboard systems will monitor the vehicle, and then if something is wrong, it's the vehicle that calls the hold, not a person. Of course, the weather is still monitored by people, but we are at 1 minute to go. Falcon 9 entering startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. Tanks are also going to pressurize to flight levels, and in just a couple seconds, we will hopefully get a go for launch from the LD if all is go.
Go for launch.
There we go. They're going to try. 40 seconds to go. So at this point, they are going for the launch attempt. 30 seconds to go. In just a little bit, we will see the Rainbirds activate, which is a water deluge system at the base of the rocket. That will be followed by a green flash, which is ignition using a substance called TTAB, triethyl aluminum triethylborane, and then hopefully we see launch. 10 seconds to go. And of course, once it launches, we will be quiet and let you listen to the sounds. But for now, let's wait for those Rainbirds and that engine ignition and liftoff of Falcon 9 and Satria Lima on its way to geostationary transfer orbit. Go Falcon 9, go Nusantara. You could hear the VAB squeal. That's what we love to hear as Falcon 9 continues its push to orbit. So far, the vehicle has now passed through max Q, that is maximum aerodynamic forces that are pushing against the vehicle on its trip uphill. And so far, everything looking good. There are 90 seconds into flight. The next events that will be coming up will be 3 events in rapid succession, starting with MECO, main engine cutoff. That will be followed by separation of the first and second stages, and then ignition of the Merlin vacuum upper stage engine to continue the launch. Look at the colors of this liftoff tonight. Absolutely gorgeous glow from that as it punches through the clouds here. This is being tracked by Gage using one of our Cape cams that we have that you could see on Space Coast Live 24/7. And now we get to the
Wow, look at that.
blues.
Changing to blue.
Oh, I love that bluish color. So now coming up next will be those 3 events in rapid succession. So we should see that light go away shortly. And waiting for MECO. There we go. Main engine cutoff. And now we'll see the stages separate. And now on the right side of your screen, there is the full-sized Merlin vacuum engine igniting. And everything looking good at this point. And now at this point, the booster will be heading for the drone ship. So B-1078 deploying its grid fins and now aiming for a short fall of gravitas located in the Atlantic Ocean, awaiting a chance for the booster to land atop it. So far, Alex, that looks good. Next up will be the separation of the 2 fairing halves, exposing the satellite to space. As stage 2 now reaches 100 kilometers and counting in altitude, as stage 1 also reaches 100 kilometers in altitude and counting.
There should go the fairings shortly. And boop, there we go.
There we go. You can see how tight those margins are for a satellite that big inside the fairing, but there we go. And now it's worth noting for this one, Alex, normally we're used to with Starlinks where it will see the landing and then SECO, second engine cutoff. This one, the second engine, I believe, cuts off before the landing, right?
Yep, it's a shorter time to get into orbit. Mostly because the payload is not as big, but it's going further away than the Starlinks. The Starlinks is like 16 to 17 metric tons, whereas this is just 6 metric tons. If it were going to low Earth orbit only, the first stage will have plenty of performance to come back to the Cape and all that, but it is not going to low Earth orbit, right? This first burn is just putting it in that parking orbit in low Earth orbit. But then there's another burn that will push it away and will push it even further away, and that's what and that's the whole reason why it's actually going into orbit earlier, because it is not as heavy as, again, a Starlink satellite launch is like carrying an extra 10 metric tons, 11 metric tons, right, of mass to orbit. But instead, that means they're going to be reserving a little bit of propellant on that second stage to then push this payload out there into geosynchronous transfer orbit. So yeah, that's, pretty much, I guess, orbital mechanics 101. What you don't spend now, you may have to spend it later.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I like that analogy. But yeah, and in regards to also for a Starlink, there's usually a second burn that's about 2 seconds long. This one is actually closer to 35-ish seconds long.
Yeah, it's like comparing, small bump and just a little of a push there with that second burn on the Starlink missions. This one is actually carrying this way out there, right? So yeah, it's a huge difference in the remaining performance, I guess, on that second stage.
Yeah, stage 1 already at 158 kilometers up. Meanwhile, stage 1 is now back below 100 kilometers. The trajectory, once they separate, it still has momentum going forward. So at that point, it will continue to rise until it reaches the highest point in its trajectory, known as the apogee, at which point then it starts falling back down. So right now, it is continuing that fall, but what will help slow it down is the entry burn, which should be starting any second now. And there we go. We can see the animations up. One engine, and then we should see 2 more engines ignite. And there we go. You see, once it gets rectangular, it is absolutely all 3 engines running.
As you used to say, I don't hear you say this very, very often lately. Fighting fire with fire.
Well, yeah, most of the launches lately haven't gotten to this point. They stopped the count on the pad, so
that's true.
There we go. Yes. Anyway, fighting fire with fire to slow itself down. There you go, folks.
Yeah, it's true. It finally launched. It kind of seems crazy that we're finally seeing it not just launch, but now landing. It's now going through that atmosphere. You can see there.
Yep.
That re-entry heat.
Yeah, everything through those grid fins there as it gets the thicker parts of the atmosphere. Absolutely beautiful. And those grid fins that you see on the screen, I call them like waffles because that's what they look like to me. Those will start steering and maneuvering as it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere when they become more useful. So especially as we get right before touchdown, you will see them going quite wild as they work to steer the vehicle onto the center of that drone ship, which you can see the light of it on the left there.
And keep an eye on the right-hand side, because that MVAC engine will be shutting down in just a few seconds from now. It's very close now to orbital speed there.
Yep.
So let's see what's first, the start of the landing burn or the shutdown of the MVAC engine.
I think it's just going to beat it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Again, the light from a shortfall of gravitas, the drone ship on the left of your screen there. And we should be starting that landing burn, which is a single engine.
And landing burn wins.
There we go. Just by a couple seconds. There is second engine cutoff. So the satellite in its current parking orbit. Meanwhile, stage 1 hoping to park on the deck of the drone ship. You can see those grid fins doing the steering. Landing like deploy. And touchdown, B-1078, landing on the deck of a shortfall of gravitas after another payload is delivered to orbit. Add that -24. So, beautiful. And now, what is the timeline remaining? Because we will stay live through satellite deploy here. What is the remaining timeline for what we can expect here?
Yeah, so the second stage and the Nusantara Lima satellite are currently in a coast phase. They're going to be doing a relight of that MVAC engine on the second stage at T plus 23 minutes and 13 seconds, and it should last for about 45 seconds or so to put the Nusantara Lima satellite into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. About 4 minutes later, then they'll deploy the satellite into that orbit, sort of separated away from the rocket. So yeah, just a few more minutes to go. It's one of those things as well that these missions are not like Starlinks where it's usually like an hour or so until payload deployment. This is a lot earlier. Or for example, like the other day with a transmission from Vandenberg, it was like a couple of hours after launch when they deployed the satellites. So yeah, it's one of those things where these missions are really quick after launch. They are done very quickly after. Yeah.
And while the launch has been going on, you guys have been absolutely spectacular with the support. Really appreciate it. But we have the replays coming up too. So stick around. You'll get to see all the launch replays as we wait
Wow.
for the actual.
Have you seen that?
What was that?
I think that was storms on Earth.
Was that lightning?
Yeah, I think that was lightning.
We'll have to see.
Wow.
Hopefully they flip back to that view looking up at the satellite.
Yeah.
I saw that flash. That's why I wasn't sure if those, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at that.
that is really cool. Yeah, that is storms on Earth seen from space.
And yeah, some people mentioning yes, that's also the moon.
Moon.
Moon. Some other people as well asking about the cylinder, like the cylinder thing that we can see on the satellite. That's one of the deployable. There we go. That one sort of over the speed. That's one of the deployable solar arrays that they have. It's one of those rollout solar arrays that they use now.
I remember back when those were a novel concept. I was in an office at the
Wait,
press
hang on.
site at the Kennedy Space Center, and they were
Maybe that was not
displaying-
it. Sorry, I think that's actually an antenna.
It probably is one of those mesh antennas that goes out, but
Yeah.
still,
I was
regardless,
confused. Yeah.
I remember with the Rosas going into an office at KSC and someone had a sample of it. It was so small. They're like, but soon we'll be able to roll these out at massive scale, like on the ISS. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, cool.
Yeah.
They're
I was
now on
confusing
the
it
ISS.
with other satellites that do have now that kind of solar rollout solar arrays, especially from Boeing. Now they have some of those. But there we go. Some replays already of the launch. Look at that.
Absolutely beautiful. This from our fleet cams down at the port, atop Rusty's at the port. Great place to grab a bite to eat and also watch a launch and watch all of the SpaceX recovery ops at the port there. This is my favorite part from this as it poked through the clouds, the way it lit up the sky. Again, we call it an artificial sunrise. Now you see why. Just even the effect with the clouds on it, it's spectacular. Oh, I love that view. Also, shout out to Kevin Michael Reed's dad, who got a chance to actually hopefully see the launch now tonight. I know he's been trying the last couple nights. There we go. It's so good. Let's watch it again. And you can see it coming behind those cranes, which are typically used for SpaceX fleet operations there, where they will take the boosters after they come in on the drone ship. They will lift them up, fold up the legs, and place them on transporters back onto Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's gate there, and work their way back typically to Hangar X for inspection and refurbishment ahead of its next flight. Meanwhile, these absolutely spectacular views from the port, again, only on the Space Coast do you get a view like that. Just soaking it all in. Beautiful colors, and again, we've got more replays coming, but that was beautiful. Here's from the second camera that we have at the port. Of course, the ship decided to go right in front of Slick 40. But that just means the ship is going to have a rocket rising behind it, that's all. And from the ship comes a Falcon. There it is. Beautiful. Again, sometimes the launches where there's clouds can make it very difficult to see the launch, but at night, you really get that glow. So it tells you exactly where it is, makes it beautifully clear. This is from one of our robotic cameras that we have at the Kennedy Space Center Launch Complex 39 press site. There is that the definition of orbital sunrise in a way here. Obviously, orbital sunrise is more meant in space because you see 16 sunrises and sunsets every day as you circle the Earth. But I guess the Space Coast gets 2 sunrises and 1 sunset. Does it count as a sunset if it keeps going up?
Wouldn't be sunrise.
Well, yeah, it's a sunrise, but then as the light fades, it wouldn't be a sunset because it's still rising. So it's a sunrise and the sun continues rising.
Okay, I can save you here by saying, well, technically then it goes over the horizon, so it's sort of a sunset too? It's just the very tiny light of the MVAC engine, though.
Yeah, it's a stretch on that one, I know. And there we go. This is another close-up view of it rising over the tree line. But yeah, regardless, it's quite a sight to see. If you've never seen a launch from anywhere near the Space Coast, highly, highly recommend adding it to your bucket list if you're any kind of a space fan.
You want to know something funny from this launch is that we are 11, 12 days into September. This was the 6th launch of the month. So that means they're averaging 1 launch every 2 days.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 6 launches in like 8 days, but
yeah,
this mission decided to, well, not so much this mission, the weather decided to not cooperate.
Yeah. So if it hadn't been by the weather, they could have probably done even faster than that.
Oh, they absolutely would have done faster than that, yeah. And then this is the hand tracking from Max.
Hello.
Hey, we're about to watch and probably listen to your replay here.
Just in time.
Let's listen in as the rumble hits. Nicely done, Max. Especially tricky with the clouds, but still, well done, sir.
Yeah, one of the most visually stunning parts of a launch where there's somewhat of a cloud layer around is the brief moments right before it punches through them, and that the light bounces back off of the cloud and lights up the entire body of the rocket. And it happened twice tonight. The first one was a bit unexpected on my part, and then it happened again, and I made sure to have the area above the plume in frame when that happened, and it worked out. So yeah, nighttime launches can always be special, and if there's a bit of a cloud layer mixed in there, I guess just for a bit of visual spice, it can also add to it.
Yeah, as much as we like beautifully clear skies to see the whole thing, there is something about the occasional punch through a thin-ish layer cloud where you can still see the rocket through it that just, oh, chef's kiss.
Indeed.
And this was the, as voted on by you, the viewers, this was Max's streak shot as well from the launch.
Yeah, camera was set up about 20 feet away, so I ran over at about T-minus 40 seconds and fired it up. And, it's not my best work for sure. And also the arc being very narrow can be kind of, I guess, not that thrilling of an image on my part. It still looks really good, and the drama there with the clouds certainly adds to it. Still, I'm happy it came out. A little bit dirty on oh, there we go. Stretching it up. Oh, what was that?
This is a wide Falcon.
I guess.
Falcon wide.
Oh, he's widening the. Oh, okay. Hey, you know what's crazy on that? Like even stretched out, it doesn't look like abnormal. Dare I say? Because that's how streak shots can look if you're from a more perpendicular perspective to the pad and the trajectory. So, yeah. Either way, it was still an absolutely beautiful one, and honestly, we are just glad that it is off the ground.
How does that still work stretched? It shouldn't, but it does.
It really does, and it's kind of spooky.
But well done, and great voting from everyone in chat. Over 1,200 of you on that vote. And yes, we see the VAB. We did hear the VAB squeal. I know people in chat will still say, "Oh, I didn't hear it. It's fake. It's a myth. It's the moon landing isn't real, and the VAB squeal isn't real." But promise you, they both are.
It is not a myth. No.
Go back and rewatch sometimes in these launches. You'll hear it usually about 45 seconds into flight. But I do need to, if we could... Words, okay. We can keep an eye now on the screen. Hopefully we'll get visuals back for the burn, which should be coming up in about 2 minutes. So, Alex, how long is this burn, and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, it's not too long. It's not like the one that we just saw to get into orbit, but it's not, as we mentioned before, it's not like the ones that they do for Starlinks, where it's like just blink and you miss. This is a lot longer. So if my math is correct, it should be 44 seconds long. So it should be coming up in about a minute and a half from now. It will do two things. The first one is it'll raise the orbit, the other end of the orbit, out to close to geosynchronous orbit. It will actually not get all the way out there because the satellite is too big for Falcon 9 to efficiently do that. It doesn't have enough performance, but it's good enough that it will send it out there at the very least, as close as it can. Another thing that it will do is it will also lower a little bit the inclination. So right now, that orbit that you can see there, that white orbit, it's roughly 28 degrees in inclination relative to the equator. It's going to be turning that a little bit down. Probably, if I were to guess, closer to 25 or something like that, based on previous missions with similar payloads of this size. So yeah, that burn will sort of do both things at the same time. Again, it should be happening hopefully in less than a minute from now, a little bit over, after past T plus 23 minutes. So we'll see. Some of these times usually vary a little bit, and the length of the burns also differ depending on how much remaining reserves of propellant the second stage has. So we'll see what happens there. Because sometimes if they have a little bit more performance, they use it, right? It's always good, especially with these kind of missions.
It's worth noting all the times that we're given from SpaceX are subject to change. It's just their estimations versus the actual numbers from the vehicle itself. But there it is. There's the green flash of a T-tab. There is the reignition. And so far, everything looking good. Speed increasing.
Yeah.
Quite dramatically. There should be approximately 20-ish more seconds left in this burn still. Of course, there's no sound from the vacuum, but the view, spectacular. About 7 seconds if their original timeline stands true, but as mentioned, it could be a couple seconds more or less. It appears a couple seconds more.
There we go. Shutdown.
And that white stuff flying away is ice. That's not anything to worry about, right?
Yeah, it's fine. The reason why they can get away with a longer burn here is because actually what you want is to get as close to geosynchronous orbit as possible. And I just heard nominal orbit insertion, so that's great. That means the payload is now in the correct orbit. Now what remains is actually separating it. So there's going to be a few minutes here where they're going to be waiting for, all of the pressurization systems and whatnot, all of the tank stuff to get, after this burn, get quiet, so to speak, right? And then they'll be able to release that payload. But yeah, this satellite at the end of the day, it's going to be at this sort of geostationary orbit, which is roughly 36,000 kilometers away from Earth at 0 degrees inclination, essentially an equatorial orbit around the equator, 36,000 kilometers away from Earth. So the closer that you get to that orbit, the better. So if you burn for a few more seconds, that means the satellite will not need to burn as much propellant, and that means it'll be able to reserve that for its own orbit, different adjustments and things like that during its life, which means it's going to last for longer. So the customer will be very, very happy if that were to be the case, right?
Yep. And as they get ready for satellite deploy, Max, I know you need to deploy off right now and pack things up there. So thank you for joining us.
Pleasure as always, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to hang out tonight and enjoy payload deploy. We'll see you guys next time.
Always appreciate Max Evans rolling out. You see his info that was on the card there. We're still a couple of minutes away now from the deploy. And again, that white stuff building up there, it's not a leak or anything. That's just ice, correct?
Yeah, that's gaseous oxygen that turns into ice once it goes out to the vacuum of space and everything. Because it's vented out, and there's like physical processes and whatnot that cools it down and it turns it into a solid. And so it forms like little blob there next to the bleed valve, as it's called. And yeah, that's normal part of the operation of the engine. And there we go, more venting, so that means the ice gets knocked off.
Yeah,
I always love that.
When it's that small amount, it's totally fine. When it keeps growing and growing and growing, that's when
That's
you're
a
in
leak.
Florida for a launch.
Yeah, exactly. We saw last year. We saw last year during a Starlink launch. There was a whole lot more ice, and it was coming from the wrong side of the engine. Right? It was coming more from like towards the right here on this view, sort of where that foil thing, that mylar protection is located. That was not good. This is coming from the right side, from the correct location that it needs to come out from. So yeah, and in the right quantity.
Exactly. Sorry to throw you under the bus with that one. But we're now about 20 seconds away from deployment, finally, of the Nusantara Lima satellite for Indonesia. I'm sure they will cut to the top part. Alex, how does the separation mechanism work on this? Is it just a push? Is it a spring?
It's probably spring loaded. Usually most of these are like that. Very rarely you see some of these being like, frangible nuts, as they are called, essentially just pyrotechnics that release a bolt and then, the satellite flies away. Sometimes it's just, most commonly used nowadays is the other type, where it's just springs, essentially.
Did it deploy, or did they hold off on the deploy?
I don't know. They're showing now a promo video for whatever reason from Pacific Satellite Nusantara.
Yeah, per the original SpaceX timeline, deployment was T plus 27 minutes and 25 seconds. Although, as we pointed out, that second burn did go a little bit longer, which isn't a bad thing, but it could change the rest of the timeline. But
either that or they got the times wrong, which is usual. To be fair, it's not unusual.
Yeah, Tom Jones agrees. Yeah, at this point, we'll have to, we'll see. We'll keep an eye out here to see if we get the deploy. In the meantime, let me take this moment to thank some people. We wait for that. Angry American was teasing a membership giveaway if we hit 2,000 likes by Fairing Sep, which he then super chatted again later, saying didn't hit the challenge this time. NSF by far the best in spaceflight coverage and definitely the most entertaining. Well, thank you for that. That's the goal, is to commentate and to also entertain and inform. And then still, gifting 1 red team membership anyway as well. So thank you. Apparently, it sounds like we are now moments away, that extra kick in the burn, adding a couple seconds ahead of separation. All right, let's see.
I'm on the side that they probably just put the wrong time on their timeline, because that usually tends to be. And I want to mention one thing here. That ice, if it were a leak, say that it is a leak, doesn't matter. The satellite is already in the orbit that it needs to be. As long as it deploys, second stage already did its job. So
Yeah. And it's worth noting, again, the speed drop, totally fine. You see there the altitude increasing. That's typically what happens. As the altitude increases, the speed will drop, and it will fluctuate at this point as it goes through its orbit. Once it's in geostationary and it's synchronized with the spin of the Earth, it's a little less dramatic, shall we say.
yeah, they're just trading speed by altitude.
So that's totally normal, totally expected, nothing to worry about. Already, by the way, 700 kilometers above the Earth now, just 30 minutes after launch. And it's still at 31,500 kilometers an hour. It's still, even if it's dropping, that's still pretty fast.
Yep. I mean, the moon is still, I think the orbit of the moon, it's like the speed is like 2 kilometers per second still. It's quite fast, even though it's way far out there, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going off of that soon TM, which is a trademark SpaceX.
There we
and there
go.
it goes. As we say that, Nusantara Lima on its way to geostationary transfer orbit to finish its final geostationary orientation soon.
Ooh, here comes the sun.
Do. It's all right. And that looks like
Wow.
a picture-perfect deploy.
Another successful flight for Falcon 9. That is cool.
Yes, and live from New York, it's Saturday. No, that's the PSN Group's logo, by the way. Oh, I love the sun rising over the Earth just there. You could see, just the orbital line there. That's the satellite.
This is what I said. That the orbit burn will be in daylight. So there you go.
Oh, and the stage is even drifting to the point where you can see it better. Oh my gosh, this is stunning. Yes, we know you're SpaceX, and we know you're at SpaceX on X. We wanted to see that. We wanted to see the shot. There we go. That was beautiful. By the way, Crispy gifting 20 more Red Team memberships through all of that. Crispy, your generosity tonight has been spectacular. Thank you so much. And Alex, it's finally off the ground. Despite what we see, it's off
Finally!
the ground. Yes.
Finally. Let's see now if they get to that Cygnus. Hopefully, if not on Sunday, maybe on Monday. We'll see. But definitely looking forward to that one because, usually ISS missions, I like them better because, it's also going to be an RTLS launch. So, booster return to the Cape. That's always cool.
Yes, we'll see if they can do that turnaround on Sunday. Keep updated with the next spaceflight app and the NSF socials so you know when that launch happens. And of course, you'll be able to hit the notification right here on YouTube to know when we do go live for that one. And we had Max on earlier. So Alex, thank you for joining. I saw your card was already up there. And Kevin Michael Reed been the one pushing the buttons, pulling the levers as we watch this launch replay that Max shot. Absolutely gorgeous. I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I've been your host for this evening's broadcast. Thanks for sticking with us for all 3 broadcast launch attempts. Third time is the charm, as they say. Appreciate everyone sticking around. And how about next time we launch it on the first attempt? Sound like a plan? Cool. I will see you all for that next attempt. Until then, have a good one, everybody.